Brennan Marion is one of the most innovative minds in college football, but his biggest challenge at Colorado may be coexisting with Deion Sanders, according to one insider.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. So thank you for making me your first listen, watch, or whatever part of your day. I appreciate all of you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about Brennan Marion's biggest challenge, apparently, which could be coexisting with the man who hired him. At least that's what one insider says. We'll dive into that and what I think his actual challenge will be. We're going to talk about my biggest concerns for Colorado in the transfer portal right now, just based on how I feel they're going to move and just sort of what they need. I think that's also a big issue. And then we're going to go over to the hardwood and talk about Colorado's latest loss, first loss of the season, actually, to Colorado State in basketball. But let's dive into the Brennan Marion challenge. So over at Buff Zone, Pat Rooney wrote a piece, and it was really interesting, honestly. And this isn't meant to go at him, but he mentioned the hardest part, or like something that could be difficult for Brennan Marion, is being with Deion Sanders, right? Deion Sanders he's Colorado's third full-time offense coordinator in 4 years under Coach Prime. And in Coach Prime's 6 years as the head coach, he has changed a play caller in the middle of the season 4 times. And he says, quote, "Those aren't quirks or even trends. Those are established habits, and one Marion will be tasked with breaking," right? So it sounds like the biggest challenge he will face is essentially not losing Coach Prime's faith. And we saw it happen to Sean Lewis in Coach Prime's first year. We saw it happen to Pat Shurmur this year, and it happened at Jackson State a couple times as well. And so it's one of those things where, do I think Brennan Marion is cut out to coexist with Deion Sanders? Because I see why that could be perceived as a challenge. And quite frankly, when I knew that Colorado was looking for a new offensive coordinator, I was like, it has to be someone who they themselves has a big personality. They themselves are confident. They have a swagger. Like, I don't think there's anyone as confident or has more swagger than Deion Sanders, but it's got to be someone who could go toe to toe with him in a sense. Not like, hey, we're going to fight and we're just going to duke it out over here. Like, this isn't Yellowstone where it's like, if you're going to fight anyone, you got to fight me. Like, that's not the vibe we're going for. But the vibe we're going for is someone who's so darn confident in himself that Coach Prime doesn't have any reason to question him. So I think Brennan Marion's challenge isn't going to be coexisting with Coach Prime, because I think Coach Prime is well aware, like, hey, if I need someone to work out, it's this guy, right? You could win games with a great offense and a mediocre to bad defense. We've seen it all the time. But you can't win games with a bad offense, or at least not an offense that doesn't at least keep you in games, right? I think you're going to point at Iowa, and I'll quickly tell you that Iowa typically has one of the best run games in college football. This year, they have a good running quarterback. He can't throw worth the darn, but he can run. And they always have good tight ends, right? So don't even bring up Iowa, right? The military academies, they are not as talented as anyone. They don't have more skill players than anyone, but they are very technically sound on offense, right? So I think if you're Brennan Marion, you come into this job, like, you know what the past is, right? You know that Coach Prime has demoted people before, but him leaving a head coaching position, knowing that it's happened within the past couple of years, it shows me that he's not scared of the challenge. And I don't think Brennan Marion's biggest challenge is going to be coexisting with Deion Sanders. If anything, I think Brennan Marion's ability to call an offense and ability to recruit just in general, I think that makes Deion Sanders' life way easier. I think Deion Sanders can finally, assuming he gets the right staff around him, because I mean, Dukes was on the show the other day and he was telling me, like, yeah, there's going to be more hires. Like, they're not done yet. But you get the right people around you. And if you're Deion Sanders, you can really sit into that CEO role. And I'm not saying you kind of just be like, okay, I got good staff around me, I'm going to chill. But no, you get to sort of take a breather and focus on the holistic approach to your program, rather than trying to micromanage everything and be like, okay, well, this isn't working, so I got to dive in here. So I don't think Brennan Marion is going to have any issues coexisting with Deion Sanders. If anything, I think he makes Deion Sanders' life way easier as the Colorado head coach. Now, here's my biggest, I would say, concern for Brennan Marion is, can Colorado put the right offense line? This is partially on him because he's going to be calling the offense and he's going to be finding these guys as well. Can they get the right offensive lineman? Can they get the right offensive lineman to run his system? I had a few comments in one of my videos, I think it was yesterday, the day before, and it was like, you're mentioning all these skill guys, but this isn't 7-on-7 football. And you're totally right. This isn't 7-on-7 football, right? Colorado, they're going to want to run the ball. That's Brennan Marion's whole system. They rush for 250 yards a game at UNLV, and at Sac State last year, they had 3 guys rushing for 500 yards on the season. Colorado hasn't had a 500-yard rusher since 2021. So it's like, they're going to run the ball, but running the ball is very much predicated on the offensive line. And so my biggest concern for Brennan Marion right now is, can he, Gunnar White, Deion Sanders, and whoever else is involved in recruiting those offensive linemen in the portal, because I think that's where most of them are going to come from, can they find the right fits? It's one thing to be like, okay, we brought in 12 offensive linemen who, this guy played here, this guy played at this school, blah, blah, blah. Like, it doesn't always work out that way, right? Colorado had a pretty decent offensive line this past year, I would say. That being said, they couldn't run the ball very well. Their run blocking grades weren't anything to write home about. And so Brennan Marion's biggest challenge is not working with Deion Sanders or working for Deion Sanders. It's, can he put the right people in position for his offense to work? Because I think his offense is effective. His offense, the reason it started was because he was coaching at a high school where, as he put it, it was more of a wealthier school, a lot of kids who hadn't played football before, and they weren't that talented. So his offense was initially predicated on masking the flaws of lacking talent. I think Colorado has talent at the skill positions, but can they fill in the gaps across the offensive line, to really take this to the next level and contend for a Big 12 title, college football playoff spot? We'll just have to wait and see. But we do know that Brennan Marion can recruit. We do know he has a great offensive mind, so we'll see how things work out. When we come back, I'm going to talk about my biggest concerns for Colorado and why the transfer portal is a little interesting this year, and it's already concerning me. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game. You're reacting to it live. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. There's live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Doer. Holidays are here, and this year I'm not stressing about what to wear because I'll be wearing my Doers. Doer's denim and lifestyle apparel is engineered for movement and versatility. I've been recommending Doer to all my friends. These are my favorite jeans to wear for any occasion. I've literally worn them to a nice dinner, and I've also worn them to the grocery store because it feels like I'm floating on a cloud. Like there's no, it's not tight anywhere. You know how it gets, fellas. And it keeps you cool with their Cool Max fabrics. They keep me warm, but they don't overheat me. So I'm constantly just feeling at that perfect body temperature. And they invented the original performance denim. They give us the best of both worlds, combining classic jean wear with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. So it's time for you to experience the comfort of Doer. I know you'll love these. Pick up a pair for yourself or as an amazing holiday gift for someone else. Check out the store at Doer in Denver. It's at 2621 Laramie Street. Mention my promo code Locked On Denver in store to get 15% off your first order, or check them out online at shopduer.com/Locked On Denver for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/Locked On Denver. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you for tuning in, making me your first listen or watch of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network in the business. Let's talk transfer portal concerns. So yesterday I ran through and I gave you my 6 transfer portal guys that I would target right now if I were Colorado. The portal doesn't open until January 2nd. However, players can announce their intentions to enter the portal right now. And so there's a lot of guys in the portal. According to On3, there's at the time I looked today, there was 477. For reference, last year's portal saw over 4,000 guys enter their names into the portal. Granted, 67% of them found a home, which means, what is that, 33%, right? Yes, 33% of them did not find a home. That being said, if you're Colorado and you've already made it clear, like, hey, we are going into the portal to get some of these top guys. Like, we are going to fix our offensive line through the portal. We are going to see like how we could figure out our defense line, our linebackers. They are all in on the portal. They brought in 12 guys in the recruiting ranks. So that means they're probably going to bring in, I think Adam over at 24/7 reported that they had around 61 roster spots right now. So that means you have room for about 40-ish guys, probably a little bit more, depends on how many people leave, but you got room for about 40 more, maybe closer to 50, honestly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you're going to have to really, really evaluate in the portal. And what I'm noticing right now is, one, there's always going to be a shortage of defensive linemen that are serviceable, right? So portal concern number one, can Colorado find the right guys in the trenches, whether it be the offense line or the defense line, that could come in and withstand the Big 12 physicality, the Power 4 physicality? They took shots on group of 5 guys last year. They took shots on, they kind of went all over the place. It was like proven G5 guys. And then also a guy like Jaheim Otis, who was sort of a blue chip flame out, former 4-star, 5-star recruit kind of guy, where it's like, oh, he just needs to put it together. And it's like, I've really come to the conclusion, and it's not a knock on Jaheim Otis. I just think it's something that we've learned in Colorado's classes. Like, you bring in these guys from Alabama, LSU, Florida State, who haven't played or haven't put it together. And it's like, and it's no shade to Colorado or any of these other programs that are taking shots on them, but it's like, they can't put it together at programs that are consistently winning championships. So why all of a sudden do we think it's going to happen here? And I'm not saying Colorado can't make it happen. Like, they've gotten the best out of a lot of guys. That being said, I think they just need to pass on certain guys. Like, when it's clear, like, oh, this guy's a 5-star recruit. Okay. Oh, he hasn't worked out, and there's questions about his work ethic, and it's he doesn't care about football. It's like, okay, maybe avoid that guy, right? Maybe avoid taking those guys, right? I would limit myself on the amount of flyers I take, because it adds up. So concern number one, can they get the right trench guys? I don't really know what the right strategy is, because offensive line wise this year, I thought the offensive line was decent. It was better. It was the best one that Deion Sanders has had. And for the most part, it was Seton, Xavier Hill, which Xavier Hill was a from Memphis, All-American type of guy, All-American Conference, excuse me. And he was good. I thought he played really well. Zarian McGill came from Louisiana Tech. He was really good. I think arguably one of the best players in the Big 12 this year that didn't get enough attention. Didn't even get an honorable mention, which shocked me. But either way, Zarian McGill was really good. And then on the other side of the line is where things got a little hairy. They had Larry Johnson at left tackle, and I thought he had some good moments, but they swapped him out with Andre Roy a few times, and then Xylon Chrysler, at right guard. But you have Yaya Atia as well, so I think Yaya Atia will plug in and start next year. So in my eyes, assuming nobody leaves, you have, and these are the serviceable guys: Jordan Seton, Yaya, or Yo-Yo, however it wants to be called. And then I think you're kind of looking for 3 other guys. Maybe, and they had Andre Roy, but I didn't really like what I saw from him. So you're kind of looking for 3 guys, 3 new offense linemen again. And it's like, okay, do you go back into the G5 ranks and find the top tier guys that are looking to make the jump? Or do you go like you did with Larry Johnson and find a swingman offense lineman from an SEC school, who Larry Johnson probably starts this year for Tennessee if they don't go out and pay David Sanders millions of dollars to come play for them, right? Like, he was an SEC fringe guy. Do you go do that again? I don't know. My second concern is that Colorado is going to do what I feel like they're prone to doing, which is attract a lot of skill guys on offense. I'm here to tell you, you don't need that many. The interesting part about Brennan Marion's offense is that it's not really compatible for 3 or more guys. It's not like Colorado's thing with wide receiver has always been, oh, look at all the guys we got. We got the dudes. And it's like, well, guess what? Brennan Marion, he likes to have 2 running backs on the field. He likes to have a tight end on the field. So you're mostly going to be having 2 wide receivers on the field. And I don't know how often he's going to rotate guys. So I know there's a lot of talent in the wide receiver ranks out there. There's Jackson Harris from Hawaii. There's a bunch of guys who are transferring from FCS G5 programs that are going up. And it's like, there's a lot of intriguing names out there. Even the Michigan State wide receiver who has drawn comparisons to Calvin Johnson. But it's like, you don't need any wide receivers. You don't. I could see bringing in maybe 1 or 2 to sort of be that third guy, because I don't know if you trust Quentin Gibson or Quanell Farrakhan or Xavier McDonald to be the guy yet, to be that third guy. We'll see. But I hope Colorado doesn't get skill position happy, because the one thing about Deion Sanders and Brennan Marion is they're not going to have issues attracting wide receivers. That doesn't mean they need to bring in that many wide receivers. My other concern for Colorado in the portal is, are we waiting too long to make these coaching changes public? Right? Brennan Marion, I don't think Colorado intended to make it public, honestly. I think the word got out before Colorado could even, like, Deion Sanders likes to do things his way. But there's a lot of questions. Defensive line, linebacker, corner, running backs coach. Who's going to be the running backs coach, right? There's a lot of questions as to, like, who Coach Prime is going to bring in. And are transfers going to be hesitant to commit to Colorado because they don't know who the coach is yet, right? And you're saying the portal's not even open. The portal's been open. As soon as the season ended, the portal opened up behind closed doors, right? There's guys back channeling. There's guys being like, hey, I'm thinking of leaving this school. Let me know what you think. Like, there's been portal activity. It's just not technically allowed, but does Colorado need to start making these coaching moves now so that way you could attract some of these other coaches? So those are my 3 biggest portal concerns. You guys comment below. Let me know what your transfer portal concern is for the Colorado Buffaloes. When we come back, we're going to go over to the hardwood and talk some hoops. But first, a quick break. This episode of Locked on Buffs, as I choke on my water, is brought to you by our sponsors over at Rougier Ready. Fellas, we all know when the moment comes, we want to be ready, right? And we all know what I'm talking about. We all do. But yeah, Rougier Ready. This episode's brought to you by Rougier. Let's talk about something that most men don't bring up, but they should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rougier Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rougier Ready is a next generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when that moment happens. Rougier Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue, so it absorbs fast. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. If you've been thinking about taking that next step, now's the time. Head to rougier.com/lockedoncollege. It's RUGIET.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rougier Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. We are brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making the Locked On, the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now, take it up to a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Buffs with no interruption, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to over here, the link in the show, my show notes. Thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first, and go on that link there, and you'll be able to learn more. Thank you for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you're a true diehard Colorado fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me. So if you disagree with me or you want to know something, let me know. You want me to let you know what I've been hearing from behind the scenes, you can text me. It has all access episodes, an exclusive newsletter, and a 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to the link below to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes, like I said. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's talk hoops. Swish. The Buffs. I mean, it's crazy to talk hoops right now because of what's going on with Michigan, but I just wanted to give hoops its love, or I guess I don't know if they deserve love now. They lost their first game of the season. Of course, it came at the hands of Colorado State. They lose 91-86, and quite frankly, the biggest problem that Colorado had was they gave up 18 threes. And I wish that was a made-up number, but a lad by the name of Josh Pasquarelli for Colorado State, who transferred in from Marist, shout out, which is an East Coast school that none of you guys probably know, but they were in Quinnipiac, which is where I went. I think they were in their conference. He hit 8 threes. He was 8 of 10 and the other guys combined for 10 of the team's 35 threes. They made 54% of their shots. Over half their shots were threes. And so they were just letting it rain down on the Buffs. And Colorado really couldn't keep up. They were 7 of 19 from 3. They did make 62% of their overall shots. And Isaiah Johnson, 17 points. They also, Alon McKelly had 19 as well off the bench, but didn't get enough from the starters. Quite frankly, it was a tough game for Colorado. When you give up 18 threes, like you're not going to win many games. And when I saw that happen, it just felt like every time they shot the ball, they couldn't miss. And even when I'm reading it to you right now, I'm looking at the box score and I'm like, was it really 18? And it's like, yeah, it was. The dude made 8 threes. Another guy made 3. Another guy made 3. Like, it adds up. And so if you're Colorado, you have to be able to chase guys off the 3-point line. That loss is certainly takes a hit in Colorado's resume because the Big 12 is going to be filled with competition this year. And you just simply you can't miss out on this could be a quad win, quad 2 type of win. And you can't miss out on those. You just can't. So Colorado has UTSA coming up and then Portland State before a Hall of Fame series game against Stanford, who Stanford looks really good this year. And then they round out the month against Northern Colorado, who's 9-1. That's going to be a pretty solid game. And then you dive into Big 12 play in January. And right now, the Big 12 is looking stout, as usual. So if you're Colorado, you need to figure a little bit more out. It's disappointing that your one loss comes at the hands of your rivals, but I think the Buffs are in a much better position this year than they were in last year. They just need to sort of hit the ground running, beat Stanford, and start off, like, open up Big 12 play on a hot streak rather than a little bit of a stutter step, if you know what I mean. So I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and I will see y'all tomorrow.